monster.
From outer space.
Katie just wants to massacre him.
Go on out there and kill them. Wipe them out. All of them. To the very last man. Violence. Brutality.
Trick-or-treaters are all dead. Take a walk in the cemetery. Get eaten up by cannibals.
Celebrate Halloween.
Love and kisses, Penny baby.
What do you think this is all about? You think this is a fucking costume? This is a way of life.
Hey, Ballbusters. Bates here with your friend of mine, Ray Mungus. And we're ready to enter the world of survival horror once again on episode 49 of Way of Life Live. You can't see me right now, but I'm working to fix that. I think I know what the issue is. How's it going over there, Mungus?
It's going. It's a little weird that you see just a picture of me for once. Like, normally you're the one moving around, very animated, and now it's just me up here. How are you today?
I was tired when I got home from work. It's really tired. But thankfully, I didn't have to cook today. Because I made a big pot of chicken soup yesterday. So I'll eat that for 3-4 days straight, so I don't have to cook.
Yeah, I don't blame you there. I have like beef stew in my fridge right now, and I think we made it like Sunday, and that stuff lasts quite a bit. It's a great lazy dinner.
Yeah, exactly. It's just make a big pot of something, and then you're good for like almost the entire week.
Yeah, it's excellent. But I feel you on the tiredness. Like the week's been like just dragging along, and every day I've been coming home just a little more physically worn down, a little bit more tired. By like 11-12 o'clock, I'm sitting there on my computer just nodding off, and just like I have all these plans of things that I want to do during the day, and then once I finally get settled in and comfortable, I'm just gonna stare at this computer and then kind of drift off into La La Land until I actually go to bed.
Yeah, no, I've just been having trouble getting to sleep at normal times. I don't know, last couple days. So I'm like usually only on, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 hours of sleep lately.
It seems like, I'm getting about that myself, but it seems like you and I have been switching positions. I was always the guy that'd stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning and be very content with it, but I'm starting to not embrace that normalness, what the average folk go through, but kind of like I have to, like I have to accept it at least. And you're just gaming away.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It feels like I took a couple years like away from gaming. Like I took a couple years off, and It's been nice to like actually just sit down and game regularly again. I've been spending a lot of time, playing RPGs again, which is something I haven't done in forever, and playing Wildlands and a few other games. Come Friday, I'll be, knee deep in what we'll be talking about a little bit later. So, yeah, it's nice just to get back into it, even if it is, in destroying my sleep schedule.
You gotta sacrifice sometimes. That's basically the best option that you could go with. You want to play games, you gotta sacrifice something you also love. So I miss gaming regularly. Hey, there you are.
Yep, I fixed it. Yeah,
no, I miss gaming like that myself. So
I mean, there was a time where I was just like a hermit, like it's like sun, because I'm just fucking just gaming all the time. But that's not an issue anymore for me because it's I guess it's because a lot of the new games, they just don't grab me. It's just there's just nothing there for me. They're not my types of games, not my style of games. All these big name releases, your Far Cries and your Dead Spaces and your God of War, like none of those games interest me. So you're
really peculiar when it comes to that. I mean, I'm not a guy that constantly chases down AAA titles, but I don't even look at it that way. I see a game that piques my interest, and then I just go with it, regardless of how popular it is, regardless of really anything about when it comes to that.
It has nothing to do with them being popular. I'm just looking at them and I'm watching the gameplay and the stories on the games, because I'll watch streams and watch other people play them, and I'm just like, yeah, I have no interest in this. And games you would think I would have an interest in, like Bloodborne and any of the Souls games. It's just I'm looking at them, I'm like, oh, this doesn't really look fun. It just looks clunky and frustrating. Why do I want that in my life?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I embrace a lot of the story-driven games, so I'm like a sucker for, like Mass Effect series, all the BioWare games. Like, I'm really looking forward to the new game Anthem, which it's for a little bit there, it screams, this is BioWare's version of Halo, and I'm not really so into that, or not Halo, Destiny. I'm not so into that, but at the same time, I've loved all the Mass Effect games. I loved all of the Dragon Age games. I just started Mass Effect Andromeda, despite everybody crying and moaning about it, but that's a whole different story. But like with me, the games kind of have to hit the mood. Like I'll buy a video game, and then 4 years from now, I'll play it and just adore it, and then want to talk endlessly about it to people that are like, "Wow, that game was so 5 years ago." It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I don't know. That doesn't bother me. I'll play an old game just because I want to play an old game, whether I've played it before or not. It's not the point. People should be happy that that it's like, oh yeah, I love that franchise, but why are you playing that game in the franchise now? It came out 5 years ago. I'm like, well, fuck you. Be happy I'm playing it at all.
Basically.
But yeah, no, it's just nice to be able to sit down in front of my computer again and game, and the fact that so many more games are coming out for PC, like all the big console titles are coming out for PC. Like, I bought a PlayStation 4 thinking that I would need it to play the Resident Evil 2 remake. Yeah, well, I don't. I don't. Maybe that might still be the case with the Final Fantasy VII remake. I don't know if that's actually coming out for PC, but if not, I have a PlayStation 4. I'm ready to go for it. But everything is now coming out for PC, and it's just making my life that much easier. Not that it's making my gaming hard drive's life easier, because that thing's almost full. I might actually have to delete some games to fit Resident Evil on it. But that's my problem, not yours.
That's why I have like so many spare 2 terabyte hard drives. I play off the game, but it is really tempting to install the video game right on my main solid state drive, so it runs very beautifully. So I'm eventually going to run into a very similar problem down the road, but hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, very, very true.
So not only video games, you've been doing some TV watching too, huh?
I have. Binged Punisher Season 2 this weekend. I thought it was 12 episodes. I was wrong. It was 13. And I was very much looking forward to it. And as you'll read in my reviews, it's an okay season. It's definitely not the strongest of any of the Marvel shows. I don't know. It's got a lot of ups, but it's got way more downs. And if I had to say something really nice about this season of The Punisher, I would have to say it's when you get to a satisfying scene, it's really fucking satisfying. Like, overly satisfying. There's one episode towards the end, towards the second half of the season, where it has like 2 or 3 extremely satisfying scenes in one episode, and it's one of the strongest episodes in the season. And you'll know exactly what I'm talking about if you've seen it yet, or when you get to it. It's just wonderful. And then, all these Marvel shows have a kind of a kicker or a bit of a stinger at the end. The last scene of the last episode, and this show is no different. There is a really nice stinger at the end of it, and it'll make Punisher fans giggle with joy, but it's probably going to be a pointless giggle, because at this point, I'm sure the show is pretty much all but canceled. They just haven't announced it yet, so, Yeah,
I expected the cancellation announcement to come a few days after it got put on Netflix, but I guess they're holding off a little bit. I've been talking about this a little bit, and it just screams to me that like Netflix has been cutting off their nose to spite their face when it comes to this whole Marvel agreement and Marvel Disney pulling out of the Netflix deal a little bit. I mean, you got to look it up. There's a lot of convolutedness behind the scenes of like the contracts and everything. But you've got some of like the more popular shows on Netflix, and like Marvel shows, and then everybody continuously talks about them. The internet kind of blows up for a couple weeks when one of them's released, and then you go and cancel the entire slate of them, like one after another. I think like Punisher and Jessica Jones have not been axed yet. Am I correct?
No, Jessica Jones was, I believe.
Oh, okay, and so
I think
one bites the dust.
I think all of them have been killed off except for Punisher, and that was just because they had a new season coming out. They didn't want to cancel it before the new season came out.
Yeah, and from what I read, Marvel can't touch them until 2020. But then again, Marvel Disney really didn't seem very interested in playing in Netflix's created world. So who's to say that we're ever going to see these characters again? It's kind of a bummer. But I've heard pretty good things all around about the Punisher season. You're the first person to have a little bit of critical things to say about it.
Yeah, I think I disliked, and not even like dislike, was just very more uninterested in more episodes than I was interested in. And the nucleus around that was the fact that the entire season had way too much going on, way too many story arcs and paths, and there was one story arc in particular that was just like so uninteresting almost the entire time. And there'd be points where that arc would pick up a bit and be like, oh, all right, this is getting better, and then it would you know, sink right back down. And it just, I don't know, at least for me anyway, it wasn't pulling me in. The other arcs were great. The other stories, you know, the plot A and plot B going on, those were great. It was just this one particular plot point. They couldn't nail it down right. I don't know if it was just the writing wasn't there, or I don't know. I couldn't really put my finger on it, but it's just like every time we got scenes involving that particular arc, it was just, it just felt like it was dragging to me, and it only picked up a couple times and it never lasted. So that's where a lot of my issues with the season came from.
Yeah, I'm a little bit behind, as I said before, but it seems like all the Netflix shows have one of those scenes. You know what I mean? A lot of the biggest complaints about those shows is that they drag at spots. Some of them is slowed down like completely. Some of them they pick up and then recover. So it seems like they're just like it's a fixture within all of these writer rooms, unfortunately. But whether it affects the season overall, that's up to the viewer, I suppose.
Yeah, and you want to know the worst part about it was the first 2 episodes were so good because you were in a completely it feels new. The first 2 episodes. I don't want to really go too deep into why they feel new. Read my reviews if you're interested. It's not really spoilery, but if you want just complete surprises, not that it's like a really big surprise, but I don't really want to spoil anything. It's just, the first 2 episodes were great, and it really brings you in. And then you get kind of more of the same after those first 2 episodes. And as I said, there are highs, but I just feel that there were way more lows this season. I haven't really given the season an overall score yet, but we're still going through the episodic reviews. I think episode 3's review came out today, and we'll be done in probably 2 weeks with them all. I actually still have to finish writing them. Maybe this weekend I'll rewatch the last couple episodes that I have to write a review for. But the last few episodes were actually really good, so those shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, if you want to check out those reviews, I just posted a link in the chat. If you're listening to this later, you should be able to check out the chat and click it. Right now, if you're listening live, the episode 4 review is currently up on the website, not on social media, so you'll get a little bit of a sneak peek if you go there now and check it out. But we want you to stay here. We have other things to talk about.
Yes. So what's going on this Friday? Are we doing stuff? Are we doing a thing?
We're doing a thing.
Oh, we're doing a thing. Okay.
We're doing a thing.
What kind of thing?
We got to do that thing. That's all you need to know. Be there 8 o'clock. That'd be pretty funny if I just left it that way. We got a shindig going down, and we want you there. But no, we're going to be doing another live commentary this Friday. It's going to be right here on the YouTube channel, like usual. We might have another person or two, to come hang out. I think we have Michelle confirmed to come watch a movie with us.
Aww.
And yeah, it's gonna be a good time. We always have a lot of good times when it comes to these things. We put on a movie. We do kind of a halfway serious commentary that leads to complete stupidity and madness, a la riff tracks or any of that sort of deal.
Yeah, pretty much, just way more low quality.
Oh yeah, don't get your hopes up. You listen to us. The last commentary went very, very well. Maybe it was just because we were participating in it. Maybe it was insufferable to people watching it. But give it a shot. Go check it out. What was it? Silent Night,
Bloody Night. Yeah, Silent Night, Bloody Night, which I really do need to rewatch because it's just I don't know, with all the madness going on during the commentary, it was just it was, I don't know, it just kind of
Yeah.
Like I couldn't understand a lot of the movie, but I think even if I watched it alone, I'm still not gonna understand a lot of the movie.
Oh, absolutely. We're still not gonna know why that lady in that dress was in that meeting and why they locked her in the attic. But some things you're never gonna find out. So it is what it is. But I feel the same way when it comes to the commentaries, especially in movies that I've never seen before. Like when we did Krampus, I gave it a kind of a negative review at the end of it. But I just recently revisited it this Christmas, and while it does have a lot of lulls in the movie, where you think it shouldn't, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was during the commentary that we really didn't pay attention to it.
Yeah, well, that can happen with any movie that you think you don't like. Like, I knew I wasn't a big fan of it the first time I saw it, and then the second time we saw it was during the commentary, and I still wasn't a fan of it. So,
yeah, that's true. But you had that buffer. Like I had never seen it before.
Oh, really? That was your first? I didn't know that. I didn't realize that was your first viewing.
Yeah, and it shouldn't have been, because I'm a big fan of Michael Dougherty, and Trick or Treat is probably like one of my favorite Halloween movies of all time. It's like easily in my top 10 of horror movies too, probably. But so I figured his Christmas movie would really hit it out of the park, and to some extent it does. I think some of character work and some of the story could have just been axed, but that's a whole different subject. Overall point is I need to check out Silent Night, Bloody Night one more time just to give it a fair shake.
Yeah. I mean, let's face it, it's not. We could tell it wasn't the greatest of movies, but I don't know. I think there's some charm to be found there. I really do. I think there's something there, and I'm at some point gonna watch again. I mean, the opening scene is one of the best opening scenes I've ever seen. It's great.
I still want to revisit it just to grab a screenshot of that because I'm serious about getting that scene painted. It is such a beautiful, like, inside of a house. It's like a picture.
Oh yeah, that shot.
Yes, it was like this beautiful picturesque image of like inside of somebody's house, and in the far background, in the window, is the man that just was set ablaze, and he's like burning alive, dead on the ground, and it's oh my god, it is such a great shot.
Yeah, it's like the way it was like the cinematography and the framing on the shot was just, and the way it pulled back, like it really got your hopes up that the rest of the movie was going to be that good, and it's really not, but at least you get that shot.
Exactly. Like, I would have rolled the credits right there. But, the weird part about it is that the cinematography there, that, like, he blew his load way too early because the rest of the movie, like, I wonder if they just hired that guy for the shot and then realized they couldn't afford him, and then they got somebody else because it's not a very good shot movie. It's not a very well-shot movie.
Yeah, well, I don't think I'm sure the budget wasn't there, and I'm sure the script was pretty bad, judging by how the movie went. But again, I liked it. It had some charm there. There are some bad movies where I just can't stand. There are other bad movies that I absolutely adore, and this feels like it's going to be one of those bad movies I really adore. So I'm looking forward to eventually revisiting it.
Yeah, same here, man. Same here.
Okay, so we're doing the thing on Friday. What exactly are you going to enlighten me what we're watching? Because I don't even know.
Yeah, you kind of threw that into my lap this time because you seemingly always pick the movie, which like I wasn't really aware of until you mentioned it.
I have picked every movie, I think, aside from the first one, but I think it was kind of like a collective decision that our first one, it was during Christmas. Let's watch Krampus. That would be fun. So that was like a collective sort of pick, but for every movie since, I am almost positive I have picked.
You have, and the funny thing is it's just you and I click so well when it comes to movies like that. So you'll toss out a movie, I'm like, yeah, I'm cool with that. I like that. Yeah, we could totally watch that again. And like, I think Silent Night, Bloody Night was the one you were just like, okay, I'm gonna do something different, something we both haven't seen. We're gonna rock this, and I was like, okay, go for it. But I picked this time, and I have narrowed it down to a few. But one went further than the other, and it also might be a good jumping off point to kind of revisit down the road. But ultimately, the one that won out for this week is Tom Savini's 1990 remake of Night of the Living Dead.
Oh, throwing a curveball at me. When we were talking about this, I was like, I said, there are two movies in my mind, and I think you're going to pick one of them, and you didn't. You threw a curveball. But it's a good curveball.
Yeah, I had a few up my sleeve, and, I thought that this one would be a good, we were completely insane on the last one, and I think we respect this remake so much that it might be informative. Depends on how much we drink. But it'd be a very good conversation starter when it comes to all the social commentary that existed in the first movie and then was updated in 1990 with Tom Savini. So, I think the movie's going to be like this treasure trove of really interesting topics. So, and plus we have the original classic to compare it to, and then a slew of really great actors that played these pivotal roles in the remake.
Yeah, so you picked a movie I'm just going to gush over the entire commentary because it's one of my favorite movies. I have extremely fond memories of it. I remember the first time I saw it happened to be on Monster Vision, so that helps it in my memory banks even more. And it's one of those movies where I feel like the remake is better than the original because the remake took the original and kept the basic foundation, kept all of the foundation, and then just fixed the issues that the original had, and they fixed them in such a great way. And I felt like it really elevated the 1990 version over the 68 version, while not taking anything away from the 68 version. So it just built on it.
That's the beautiful part about the remake. It took a lot of the stuff and the lessons taught, and the gold, the achievements that were reached with the original, and they're just like, we're going to add to it. We're going to make it even more of a robust movie.
Yeah, so it's a hot take, and most horror fans won't agree with me on that, and they will call blasphemy and come at me with pitchforks and torches. How could you say it's better than the original? Well, it is. And again, that's just my opinion. It's not a fact. It's just an opinion. I happen to like it a lot better than the original. Again, not taking anything away from the original. The original is legendary, and it's like the movie we have to thank for everything that's every zombie movie since. It's, again, a personal preference. I like it better. Deal with it.
No, I hear you. We've had a few conversations right on this show about this, and one of my favorite movies of all time is Night of the Living Dead, the original. And you and I, we battled a little bit on this one, but ultimately we have a mutual respect for both films, and I'm sure a lot of this debate is going to come out while we watch it. We might even get a little bit heated. Who knows? But I think it's a very good film to kind of really, I guess, put the jokes away for a little bit and maybe actually do something a little more serious than usual. But at the same time, it's us, so we're going to be goofing off about Bill Moseley or something or another. Who knows?
Yeah, I think Night of the Living Dead, I think my DVD was the first thing I ever got signed at a convention.
Very cool, very cool.
All right, well, I think that's enough with the nonsense. How about we go ahead and jump into some horror news here. Okay, I screwed that up. Bad bumper.
Whoops.
Yeah, it lagged.
Crazy Ralph.
No, it lagged, and then kind of did it twice, so I stopped it. All right, horror news.
What did you do, Bates?
I'm all screwed up tonight. All right, so bad bumper aside. So as we were just talking about, there is a an upcoming book, Night of the Living Dead 1990, the unseen version. It's going to, I guess, I didn't even know there was an unseen version of the 1990 version.
Well, the interesting thing about this is I had picked this movie before I came across this article today. And the fact of the matter is apparently, like, you know, like when you're making a movie, you know, you have to have a lot of reservations, or at least accept a lot of reservations because of budget reasons and studios and producers, financiers, etc. With that all in mind, apparently Tom Savini's Night of the Living Dead remake was about 40% of what he intended, as he was quoted. And he feels like, you know, if he had done his original vision, it would be a significantly better movie than it is now. Now, we were just talking about how amazing of a movie it is to begin with. And it was a little bit jarring to find out that, like, that film wasn't what he wanted it to be. Like, it didn't come out the way he was, like, expecting it to. He's a little bit disappointed over it. Well, whereas the fans are like, are you kidding me? It's a fantastic movie.
Yeah, I mean, all these years admiring and gushing over this movie, I had no idea that it was, like, really, he didn't get to film his vision, which is, you know, sort of upsetting when you think about it.
Agreed. And then having that sort of chip on your shoulder, like, as you're going through your career, and then having fans come up to you and say, it's amazing, you really did wonderful work with it. You know, like, it must be a bitter taste in his mouth that, like, that necessarily wasn't what he was all going for. I'm sure he's very appreciative of all of his fans that love the movie and everything, but, you know, it is disappointing, you know, to hear that it could have been a lot more.
Yeah, so it looks like we'll be able to see, I guess it looks like scenes he wanted to do that were sort of storyboarded out a little bit and drawn out, but he never got to film, and maybe some
behind the scenes.
Yeah, a lot of behind the scenes stuff.
I love books like this. Like, I live for this stuff, you know, where they just focus in on a production, and being that it's been so many years removed from the original, from that film's, you know, like the time that they made the film. A lot of the secrets and things like that went on behind the scenes are a little bit easier to swallow when a producer reads it. You know, like, he's not going to get chased out of Hollywood or anything like this 30 years later. But, you know, it's going to be really cool to sit down and digest this movie and see what he was really looking to go for.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, it's like October 2019. It's honestly not that far away when you all things considered, and with how frequently Savini appears at conventions, it's a great new piece to get signed by him.
Yeah, that was one of the first things that crossed my mind, you know, like, aside from obviously checking out and reading more on this, you know, the situation. But I mean, I've got a few things signed by Savini already, but I'd happily hit him up on the convention circuit and get that too.
Yeah, I haven't visited one of his tables in a while, mainly because he don't like me. But if this would be a book I'd actually pick up, and hopefully, as I'm walking up to his table, he no longer recognizes me and yells at me.
He's gonna like angrily point at you like Invasion of the Body Snatchers and yell chill factor at you.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think it's been long enough where he's probably forgotten who I am. Like, he probably doesn't recognize me anymore.
Hope so. Otherwise, it's going to be really awkward getting our books signed.
Or maybe I'll remind him. Maybe I'll ask him. You know, so whatever happened to Chill Factor? that's when he throws my book away and just tells me to leave.
I was gonna say he's gonna like throw a punch at you, but hey, that could work too. You could have him arrested for one and just be mad at him for the.
Yeah, no, I don't want to get punched by him. No, thank you.
No, especially with the shape that man, 72-year-old man, is in.
Yeah, no, that would be painful. All right. So what do we got here? How do you say his name? Alexandre.
Hey, Alexandre Aja, I think. Aja, maybe.
I don't know if it's
Maybe
Aha. That's a funny name, Aha. I think I think Aja is closer. Aja? I don't know. I've never heard his name spoken.
Aja.
Alexandre Ajita.
Trying to say his name gives me Aja, that's for sure.
Seriously. Next film, Crawl, is heading to theaters August 19th. You know, I've heard little bits and pieces about this film, but I've never really looked into it. The guy has done some good stuff. He did High Tension, right?
High Tension, Hills of Eyes, Mirrors, Piranha. Piranha, he absolutely killed it on. I mean, every one of the movies that I really mentioned there, they were pretty solid. I don't think I've seen Mirrors, but High Tension, Hills of Eyes, Piranha, Horns, they were all very, very good movies. High Tension was difficult to come by for a little bit there. I remember that was one of the first bootlegs that I sought after at a convention, because at that time you couldn't get that movie into the States, and it was completely notorious. It was one of those. That's what made you a horror fan, if you were able to see that movie, and the talk of every convention was that flick, and it lived up. People might not think so now, but I dug it.
Yeah, man, I remember first seeing that movie and then getting to the ending, and I'm like, oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, a lot of people get insulted by twist endings, but like, even with that one, I'm like, I'm completely okay with this. This is a brutal fucking movie, and regardless of the twist, I don't care. It doesn't insult my intelligence. It is what it is.
What the twist?
It's very exactly, you know. But this new movie seems really interesting, and it was on my radar very, very minusculely. Like, I heard that it was going to be the next Ghost House Pictures movie, and Ghost House, if I recall correctly, is Sam Raimi's production company, I think.
Something like that.
I could be wrong, but that's why in my radar, and I didn't really look into it until my brother was looking at articles for to write about for the website, and came across the press release, and apparently this is going to be a really interesting movie. The synopsis is, I can't even say this person's name, Scudellero, will play a young woman who, while struggling to save her father during a Category 5 hurricane, finds herself trapped inside a flooding house and fighting for her life against Florida's most savage and feared predators.
Oh, so like an army of Florida men, huh? it's just Florida mans as far as the eye can see.
Oh my god, that would make for a very good spoof. That sounds terrifying. Like, storms have always been real fucked up to me. Like, I always watch tornado documentaries, and having seen what hurricanes could do to places, and it's no fun. Now add being stranded in the middle of a very powerful hurricane in a house that is infested with alligators. Count me out.
Yeah, alligators, and I think they have poisonous snakes down there too. Maybe like water moccasins or something, and they got some really aggressive lizards. I don't think they're toxic or anything. Tengu lizards. They're an invasive species. They grow pretty big, and they're mean fucking things. And they have, in fact, Florida probably has like the most invasive species, like out of all the states. You know, they got these big Tengu lizards. They have giant. I think they're like a form of boa constrictors. You know, animals that aren't supposed to be there, but people released them out into the wild, and then they just started breeding like crazy, and now they're just taking over. So
sounds like a horror movie in itself. I would watch that.
Yeah, the Everglades are like they're teeming with invasive species, if I'm not mistaken.
Very interesting. I've watched a documentary on that too. I'm not usually really big on animal horror movies. Like Cujo does nothing for me. Just any of those. Like,
well, you love Jaws.
Jaws, I'm into. Jaws, I will say. But, like, I don't know. A lot of the ones that came after, maybe I grew up on a lot of cheesy ones that were using, like, puppetry that just didn't work, or, I couldn't suspend disbelief enough. But a lot of those animal films are not really my thing. This one, seems extremely claustrophobic because obviously the whole storm being a factor. And add in dangerous animals that are also panicking because of Mother Nature. So, I mean, it's just this big, like, equation of terror. Like, I'm out for the scenario. I'm in for the movie.
Not into animal movies, huh? So you're telling me you're not a fan of zombievers and zombies?
What are you're mistaking me for my cousin. He's a big Zombievers fan.
I saw that shit on Netflix one day, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, did somebody really make a movie called Zombievers? And then I actually saw, like, half of Zombies, which is a zombie movie where all the animals at a zoo become zombies. And I saw like half of it on Sci-Fi, and oh god, it's awful even for a sci-fi movie. It was just fucking horrendous. Don't watch it. Don't.
See, what Sci-Fi is like, they're meta now. Like, they used to just make bad movies without realizing they were bad, and then one of them caught on, and they're like, we're gonna make bad movies on purpose, and now they're like triply bad than they used to be.
Yeah, it's like it's like they caught lightning in a bottle once, and then they went out with every bottle they could, and haven't done it since.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. But if you see my cousin's DVD shelf, you would be surprised. It's all, I think he like owns basically every movie that comes out in Sci-Fi. It's ridiculous, and sadly, I pay for him because I always get them to him for Christmas.
You're enabling his addiction, Ray. Stop it.
I am. And none of their Sci-Fi still in business. They have one person buying.
Well, so yeah, the movie definitely sounds interesting. I'll wait for some more information on it, and which I'm sure there's more information on it now. It just happens to be that the site I'm reading has like nothing on it.
Yeah, no, I'd have to look into it. I think it was just recently announced, so a lot of the details are just trickling out at this point.
Like, seriously, like the site where I'm getting the information for this movie at the moment, 4 fucking sentences. 4 sentences. That's it.
That sounds like quality writing.
Oh, like 4 fucking sentences. Like, oh Christ, professional writer, my ass. Anyway. Anyway. What have we got? Dario Argento shares his thoughts on the Suspiria remake, and while they weren't glowing thoughts, I think he had a point, and
to some degree,
I don't like most Argento films. I'm not a fan of him. He's got it with Argento. It's like insane style over substance. And listen, I love style, but I like substance too. And he doesn't really know how to balance the two. But to his credit, he always manages to bring in some of the all-time best scores and original scores and tracks and music for his movies, which heighten the overall atmospheric level and feels for his movies to heights that most filmmakers will just dream of reaching. So, his style points really help him in some areas, and then it'll bring it down in others. Personally, I find his version of Suspiria, not that I've even seen this new version of Suspiria, I just don't like the movie, but I find it really slow, and it drags, and overall it's pretty uninteresting in my opinion. But sometimes some of the scenes, some of the way they're shot and the style of it, and it's pretty and gorgeous, and then you got the music behind it, and those aspects allow me to actually watch the movie without being miserable.
Yeah, no, I could definitely respect that. A lot of people that you either love or hate Argento. I don't think there's a lot of like gray area in there, and you know, it's usually you like one or you do one or the other because you accept that his sense of style is like unmatched. Like you really can't get a movie that looks quite like Argento, and if you do, generally the reviewer is like, wow, this guy's a fan of Argento. You know, like it'll always go back to him. The people that hate him is just, you know, it's because that he doesn't have a lot to say when it comes to the movies. You know, the scripts that he tackles, you know, they're almost like tailor made for his style. Just very simplistic topics and, you know, everything like that. And you know, the long and short of it is this filmmaker, what was his name? I can never pronounce this dude's name. Luca Guadagnino. Tell me how you're Italian here. Let's do this.
Luca Guadagnino? I don't know. I can't. That's,
that guy.
Yeah.
That guy. He was friends with Argento apparently, and he had gotten his blessing for it, and he went out and did his own version of Suspiria, and I'm sure he had his reasons for tackling it the way he did. But I don't think he would want Argento, his friend, to, you know, like sugarcoat whether he liked it or not. And apparently, you know, Argento, it seems like he went into this movie looking to only compare it to his film, and I mean, rightfully so. It's his baby, but I think he's missing some of what Luca, we're on first name basis now, what Luca was trying to do with it in his assessment. And, you know, this is a side note in general, but this article has traveled far and wide throughout the web, and there is just no responsibility in journalism anymore because they frame this thing up like fucking Dario Argento was coming for the dude's firstborn. These websites, man, they're like, he hated it, he despised it, Argento has the final word on Luca's piece of shit. You know, like, it was completely irresponsible clickbait bullshit among many of the sites, and I'm not pointing fingers or even mentioning that some of them might have changed their headlines a little bit, you know, after the fact, but that's, you know who you are. But it really frustrated me that, like, if you read the quote of what Argento said, and it was basically, it did not excite me, it betrayed the spirit of the original film, there is no fear, there is no music, the film did not satisfy me very much. You know, I could respect that because he's out there being respectful, he's not being dishonest, but, you know, that's not the only, like, his word is not the only be-all, end-all of whether this movie's good or not. You know, and he had some positive things to say, too, about it. So, like, for these journalists to go out there and kind of, like, make it look like he's you know, coming after Luca Guadagnino, it really sucked. You know, I thought that was really lame.
It's funny, it didn't satisfy me very much. It sounds like he just had like a very poor sexual experience.
I mean, like, when you look at his original movies, they were just kind of like, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that, and they'll probably be bad.
You know, it's hard to sit there as a legendary filmmaker like Dario Argento. It's hard to sit there and look at at your film, at your masterpiece, the film you're most known for, and watch it be remade, and then you're watching the remake, and all you're thinking, every scene you see, is how you did that scene when you made the movie. So it's hard to kind of separate the two when you're the nucleus that, you know, holds the two together. Like, you're the reason why these movies are here. You have your version, and now you're watching a version that somebody else did. But at the end of the day, this is your movie. You know, everything about the movie is yours. So you're going to sit there and you're going to go through every scene with a fine-tooth comb, and you're going to see it's like, oh, well, the lighting in this scene is completely wrong. I remember when I did it, or the framing in this scene, it was dog shit. Like, what are you framing? Like, what is the cameraman doing here? They're not going to be able to separate anything. It's, maybe some can. I mean, I never actually knew. Going back to the Night of the Living Dead remake, I don't remember ever reading anywhere, what George Romero thought about that movie. I would assume that even if he didn't like it, he might have just lied and said he loved it, simply because he was, very good friends with Savini.
If I recall correctly, Romero actually wrote the screenplay for it too.
I think he did. I think you're right.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it was, I don't know. Maybe he wrote it the way he really wanted to write it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting. It's an interesting little fact, but at the same time, you are writing it with your vision in mind, and then hand it off to your effects guy to remake, and then you could have been like, what the hell was he reading? Like, what did he see in this? But like you said, he's good friends with him, and there's a great chance that he enjoyed it.
But yeah, so Argento not being an overall fan of the remake, it doesn't surprise me. I think
me either, and it's difficult to sit there and expect him to have an unbiased opinion on it.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Let's see. So moving on here. Shaun of the Dead's Edgar Wright to try his hand at horror with his next film. Yeah, this was some cool news when it dropped. It was like yesterday or the day before, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I think it was.
Maybe it was Monday.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it just popped up on the web. He announced that the next movie he wanted to do was a psychological horror film that took place in London, specifically Soho area of London, and while he's not a stranger to horror elements, going back to his show on Spaced, the show Spaced, he had a lot of pop culture horror references within that show. Right on the wall of their apartment is the Evil Dead 2 poster, for Christ's sake. And obviously Resident Evil, video game references, zombies, and he went on to make Shaun of the Dead, which is romantic comedy with zombies. So he's not. It's not his first rodeo, I suppose. But for him to fully go on and do a full-fledged horror movie is very intriguing because, in my opinion, he's one of the best directors out there. Currently his vision, his editing style, his shooting style, it's unmatched. And for him to go into the genre that I love the most and say, oh, it's time for me to do one of those. It's pretty exciting news.
What I think is kind of the driving force behind him, finally jumping up and doing a real, full-fledged horror flick?
What's that?
In my opinion, I think it's the success and just the overall admiration that someone like Jordan Peele has been receiving for his films.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that. And Edgar Wright's not a stranger to success either. His movies, they're either cult classics or ones that did very well, like Baby Driver. I believe that even had a couple Oscar nominations, if I recall correctly. So he could, from my perspective, I think he could walk onto any movie he wants to do. So, him taking back his original kind of obviously his own personal preferences and what he enjoys, out of pop culture, obviously that's a driving force. He's always kind of dabbled, and seeing that a full-fledged horror movie done well can make it all the way to the best director, best screenplay. So, I could definitely appreciate that he goes this route.
Yeah, it's just that he's known for certain genres and stuff, and especially on the comedy end.
Mm.
So I think he's been seeing how Jordan Peele has really been breaking into horror, and as he was always a comedy guy as well, and he's doing and seeing how Jordan is doing this just amazingly like hyper focused thriller horror movies, and maybe Edgar's like, all right, well, maybe this is my time to do what I've been wanting to do for years too. It's sort of like a buyer's market for really good horror nowadays. So,
that's a very good point. And I always look at his movies a little bit differently. I mean, they all have comedy elements to them, but like, I'm just so enthralled by what he's capable of doing in the middle of a scene that I kind of like lose the genre that the film ultimately is in. Like The World's End is kind of this sci-fi comedy, but there's so many interesting and awesome things to look at that you lose track that it's a comedy overall. Like, obviously there's plenty of laughable moments in these movies, but that if he did one of these films full-fledged comedy or full-fledged horror or full-fledged sci-fi, that dude could just rock it. So like what you're saying is more than plausible. It's probably his exact reason for kind of wanting to branch off into very focused genre.
Yeah. I obviously have nothing to back it up. It's just sort of a theory, especially after, what was it, last year? Jordan Peele winning Oscars for Get Out.
Yeah, exactly. It was best original screenplay, if I recall.
Oh, and to kind of just go slightly off topic, but sort of in the same world of what we're talking about, and we're going to get into this a little bit more in the geek section, but I got something I got to say.
Uh-oh. Pressure rising.
The Oscar nominations got announced the other day. And again, we're going to talk about this because, some cool stuff happened with that. But all I've seen on my fucking Twitter timeline are, all the horror people I follow. Again, all of them are great people. So this is nothing against them. But as a collective, all the horror people and all the shit on my timeline I've seen in the last day or two, it was, why wasn't horror on any of this? This movie should have been in there. That movie should have been in there. Okay, listen. I'll admit, I was the first one to throw a fucking hissy fit years ago when The Witch didn't get a nomination for anything. Okay? I thought it was a massive oversight and just a utter travesty that it didn't get anything. But whatever. At that point, I pretty much stopped bitching about horror movies not getting their Oscar nods. All right, it's not a common thing. It doesn't happen. Last year it did. All right, be happy you have last year. But I'm seeing fucking people on my Twitter timeline complaining, why doesn't horror ever get in? I'm thinking, do you people not remember last fucking year? Like, again, it's not going to happen every year. In fact, it may only happen once every fucking decade. So take it when you can get it and enjoy it. Don't bitch the same fucking complaints year after year when you know that just the horror genre is not what the Academy really looks for. It's not their thing. The horror genre is the redheaded stepchild of fucking cinema. All right? If we don't include porn, because I don't think we'll ever see porn at the Academy Awards, but for obvious reasons.
You're trying to say that Bat Pussy is not going to get nominated?
No, I don't think so. But again, just stop complaining about the same fucking thing every year. Your complaining is not going to change anything. You know a movie is not going to get nominated. You may want it to. Maybe it really deserves to. But guess what? 99% of the time, it's not going to happen because it's fucking horror. All right? The Academy doesn't care about it. Get Out was an exception. It was an amazingly well-done movie, and the social commentary was massively on point with the times we're living in, and all the shit going on. So that really helped play a part in just everything that made that movie great. But again, you're only going to get a Get Out type of movie that gets 1, maybe 2 nominations, maybe once every 10 years. Accept it. I don't want to see this shit again next year. I don't want to see the same fucking people complaining about the same fucking thing. Right? Just deal with it. Your movie didn't get in? Oh, wow, sorry. You know what the Academy is looking for. They want, these... They want the movies that were made for the Academy. Your fucking La La Lands and shit. That's what they want. They don't want fucking Hereditary. They don't care about that shit. Good movie. Great actress. And what's her name? Toni Collette?
Mm-hmm.
Should she have gotten a nod? Yeah, she probably should have. If she was in a movie and did that performance that wasn't a horror movie, would she have gotten a nod? Yeah. But guess what? A horror movie. Pretty much fucking you're hanging up your chances to win an Oscar at that point. And I think most actors realize it. It's deal with it. Just fucking deal with it. I don't want to see this shit anymore.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand where you're coming from. Excuse me. I just think the issue is when we get something nice like Get Out winning, not only getting nominated but winning an Academy Award, and Guillermo del Toro being nominated for many Academy Awards and then winning many of them. You kind of like, okay, you kind of see the change coming over the hill, and you're like, okay, finally the Academy gets it. Finally, they understand that horror also has something important to say. Not all horror, but there is plenty of it there's plenty of it that is well deserving of an Oscar, and or at the very least a nomination. So like, I think we got spoiled the last couple years, and everybody were just like, okay, well, this movie was fucking Oscar worthy. This one was too, and that script that needs to be nominated. They have it in their head. And sadly, we get smacked with reality of what the Academy is looking for, like you basically just went into. And, it sucks from a perspective of watching all these great, great movies come in and do nothing when it comes to award recognition. It really sucks, especially after a couple of years where you think it's going to change. So I get where they're coming from. But all the same, change doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen over the last couple of years. It's going to take a while to get there. And we're going to have plenty more disappointments along the way. So I guess that's a long way of saying get used to it. It's a bumpy road. We'll maybe eventually get there. But in the meantime, you need to temper your expectations.
Yeah, and you know what? It's been years since I got mad at the Academy not giving a nod to a movie I particularly thought deserved it. Again, The Witch, years ago. Did it deserve nods for a couple of things? Yes. Did it get any? No. That was the last time I really, really got mad. I got mad one other time after that. As most people know about me, I'm a big Taika Waititi fan. And in 2016, he put out a movie called Hunt for the Wilder People, and it was one of the best received, best reviewed movies of the year and of all time. It was just an amazingly great movie. So good. And I thought it would have gotten at least one nod that year. Nope. Not a single one. It's like, the movies are there, but it's all at the discretion of the Academy. Maybe they saw this movie and they were like, Taika Waititi, who is this person? Some weird Kiwi? Yeah, no, fuck that. He's not getting in. It's like you don't know what the Academy is thinking when they pick these movies. I mean, from what I saw, Bohemian Rhapsody is fucking like in every other category. I'm like, what? The movie was
it got hit quite a bit.
Like aside from Rami, who was great as Freddie Mercury, he's the only reason that movie should have any Oscar nods. Every other aspect of that movie was not really that good. How is this getting a nod for like everything? And Best Picture? Are you fucking kidding me? Best Picture? Like, see, now I'm getting myself worked up again. All right, let's move on before I start punching things over the Oscars. I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's do that. All right. So, main discussion tonight is the Resident Evil 2 remake drops on Friday. Friday! Yeah, all right. So, I'm a big Resident Evil fan. I've been playing Resident Evil since I was a kid, and it first came out, God, what was that, 1995? I think when the very first one came out for PlayStation, 1995, 1996, one of those years. I don't remember off the top of my head. And loved the film. Absolutely loved the movie, the game. I'm all fucked up. Fuck you, Oscars.
I was about to say.
Fuck you, Oscars.
You take that back. That film was trash.
I love the game. It was one of the first games I played as a child where I got a real sense of dread. And the music, there were so many aspects of that very first game that really, it was my real introduction into survival horror. And, as a kid, you're not sitting there and listening to the voice acting in that game and thinking, oh, yeah, this is really bad. Because, sorry, I got the hiccups. It's like one of the worst of all time in terms of voice acting. But when you're, I don't know, like 9 years old, 10 years old playing this game, you're not thinking how bad the voice acting is. You're thinking of, oh my God, what could come crashing through that window and rip my intestines out? That's what you're thinking in 1995 when you're playing this game. Obviously, a sequel was announced, and then it got delayed, and we got the director's cut, which I actually bought. I bought simply because it actually came with the Resident Evil 2 demo. It's the only thing I cared about. And I remember reading old issues of GamePro that had Resident Evil 2, the first version, which is actually called Resident Evil 1.5 now. It had all screenshots and the backstory and everything going on, during the development of that version of the game. And I knew at that point I was hooked on the series. I was hooked on the franchise. Like everything that franchise could do was gold in my eyes. They could not do wrong. Even when Resident Evil Survivor came out, the game was dog shit. But I remember getting a Japanese version of the game early and playing through it multiple times because it only takes like 2 hours to get through it. I think maybe even less. It was it was probably like less, like an hour or so. It was like the quickest game ever. But I remember playing through it and still enjoying it just because it had the Resident Evil name on it. So this remake means a lot to me, especially considering how much Resident Evil 2, that as a game, the original, meant to me. I played that game probably more than any other game in my PlayStation collection. And, I'm hoping that this new one, from what I've seen so far, is probably going to follow in those footsteps.
You all right?
Yeah, I was.
Nice. I didn't want to. That was such a great red carpet for the introduction of Resident Evil that I didn't want to cut you off in the case that you had something else to say.
I was waiting for you.
Right on, man. Right on. I could echo a lot of those sentiments. That was my introduction to horror video games altogether. Granted, I played the horror game of Atari 2600's E.T., and that was scary for many different reasons. It was not a horror game by any stretch of the imagination, but trying to get out of the hole, to levitate out of the hole, was almost impossible. But that's here nor there. My first horror game that I ever bought was, I believe, Friday the 13th for NES, but that was very colorful. that was extremely goofy. You threw rocks at Jason in daylight and nighttime. Was there a nighttime? If so, it was blue. You know, it was very bright. It wasn't scary or anything like that. But the game that basically like slap me across the face and say, hey, you know those horror movies you grew up loving? Well, we could do that same thing in video games, was Resident Evil, obviously. The very first zombie that you encounter in that game, when he turns his head, that image will always be born into my skull. Like, I will never forget that moment of, like, fear. And looking back at the graphics, I don't know how I was able to suspend disbelief over it, but that was fear incarnate in video game form, which was impressive. Obviously, Resident Evil 1.5, the collector's edition. I think the demo was the only reason people bought that game.
Oh, you mean Director's Cut?
Director's Cut, yes. But that game I still have under my cabinet. Like it's still one of those amazing relics from my past. Funny little fact about the Resident Evil video game. I had a ghetto scratched up copy that my friend gave me, and the only way that it would play was if I turned the PlayStation upside down. And I only found that out because I got pissed off of it trying to get it to load, and I flipped the PlayStation, and it landed on, upside down, and then the game started. And that's where I witnessed Resident Evil for the first time. And I played the video game for like 4 hours straight with the PlayStation on its top. But as far as the transition into, after all these years of them sitting on this game, the classic being the classic that we're all very fond of, and then them finally going ahead and taking it and updating it and giving it a brand new full-on remake. It's not a fresh coat of paint. I was going to say that, but this game is the real deal. It is the next Resident Evil sequel that is a remake of a sequel. And from what I've played in the demo, and I didn't get to play a lot of it because I was basically I was really busy up till the last few minutes before the podcast. So I played about 20 minutes of the 30 minutes that they allowed you to play. And I just didn't have patience for certain puzzles. So, like, I got to some very, very gruesome graphics and little things that happened that were really impressive. Overall, so far, just by toying around with the demo, they nailed what it was like to... Like they updated the fear level that we had when we played Resident Evil 2 for the first time back in the day to a modern day levels. Basically, what a horror game is capable of now is where they brought the new game up to speed. They pushed it to that level, and I think they kind of like moved forward with it even more so. So those that are expecting the game that they always knew and loved are going to get that, except it's going to be, as intense as that feeling that you had back in the day, or as intense of a feeling of one of these modern horror games that people, are going crazy over. So from where I sit, I'm like super excited. I'm losing things to say here, but I'm very, very, very much looking forward to playing it.
Yeah, the demo, I really liked the demo. I didn't like the way the controller felt, so I'll be playing the game on mouse and keyboard, which I actually think probably going to make it easier. It should be a lot easier to aim and everything, but...
I will say this, though. It might help mimic the feeling of the clunky turning from the original games.
The tank controls. I like the tank controls. They don't bother me.
I did until I played the remake again for PC, and I'm just like, how did I ever do this?
Yeah, no, the tank controls never bother me. What's really nice about this remake is that one of the big things that have been missing from like every Resident Evil game up until this one is just that fear of the dark. Fear of what might be around that corner. Now, some of the Resident Evil games had that, what's going to be around that corner. But from what I've played of the demo, I finished the demo. is this one really takes it to a new level. The areas that are dark, and they're not safe. And you sometimes have to take your time going around a corner because there might be something right there. And if you run around that corner, you're not going to have the time to react, and you could end up food. So they managed to really capture some simple horror elements and finally implement them in a video game that is just, I don't feel like it's been done before. The game looks gorgeous. I mean, it looked gorgeous on my computer and on my screen. The controls, again, I didn't like the way it controlled with the controller, but it did feel clean and fluid. It was just aiming. I don't like aiming with a controller. It bothers me. But it's just because I'm a PC gamer, so I'm just used to a mouse. I'm used to having more control. It just seemed like they put a lot of dedication into not making this a remake, but making this a completely different and brand new experience with elements that will remind you of the original. Personally, when I get the game on Friday, I do believe I will be playing the game with the original music because...
Oh, they have the option?
I think they do.
That's pretty awesome.
Because the soundtrack for Part 2 is probably one of my favorite video game soundtracks. And, and I love the soundtrack, for the original soundtrack for Part 1, okay? The original soundtrack.
I love the basement theme. It's one of my favorite.
Yes, the original basement theme.
Yes, sir. That's what I'm talking about.
All right, not the remake, or not remake, but rather like that one edition. What was it? The DualShock edition or something? And they redid the soundtrack, and it was just it was redone by a deaf guy, and
to say the least.
And it was one of the worst soundtracks. No, it was the worst soundtrack ever in a video game. Just, yeah. But I'll probably be playing the remake with the original Resident Evil 2 music. Just to give me, I don't know. It's just, I love that music. I don't know. So it's just, you kind of, because you're not getting a straight remake, so at least I do. I want something that's going to remind me of where this game came from while I'm playing it, and I think that option is just a really cool option to have, and I'm looking forward to it.
Sorry about that. I was adding an article into the chat. You could read our nice little article about the disgraced Resident Evil composer that proved that he wrote the basement theme for Resident Evil. It's satire, but you will really enjoy that article if you check it out. I couldn't agree more. Basically, I want Resident Evil to feel like Resident Evil again. Not to say a bad thing about 7. I really loved the direction they took with it. I'm a huge fan of what they did with Resident Evil 4. And, but where my nostalgia lies and my love for that series lies will always be with those original games. And to see that they went back, took the elements that we all loved, and then decided to build upon that in a progressive way, as far as the series goes, I think we're finally returning to form when it comes to that series. And I'm hoping it's everything that we're hoping it like us fans are hoping it to be, because this will mark the very important step forward, in the franchise. Like the very next Resident Evil game, if this is successful, is going to be probably more leaning towards this with some progression, rather than leaning towards what they did in 7 and 4. So maybe it'll be a combination of all. But I'm looking right now at Resident Evil 2. and so far it's looking very, very bright. So I'm extremely excited to grab this game and get frustrated with puzzles. Not to say this one's going to be that difficult compared to some of the older ones, but they definitely brought back that element, and I'm happy about that.
Yep. So, I mean, anyone who's interested in the game who may not be picking it up, maybe you can't afford it, or maybe you're waiting for it to go on sale. But if you're interested in seeing the game, I will be streaming it. Release day on my channel. I will probably be streaming it quite a bit.
If Bates reminds me when he goes live, maybe I could tweet it out and share it on Facebook, but he always forgets that. So you definitely have to hit his channel up and subscribe if you haven't already. Sign up to his contest as well as watch him play Resident Evil. Because I'm probably going to be there, man, because I'm not going to be getting it right away. So I just can't resist.
You know, what sucks is we're doing the live commentary on release day.
So I guess it's going to be a solo commentary.
I didn't say that. I was just bringing that up.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll talk about that after.
But yeah, I will be streaming it for quite a while because I'm going to take my time with the game because there are a lot of little things, and you know, I want to pick up like all the files and read through all the files and see how some of the story and the lore have changed between the games and all that stuff. You know, I want to sit down. I really want to enjoy it. I want to enjoy it completely. There are going to be people who are speedrunning it on day one. That's not my style. I want to enjoy everything that the game has to offer because it is horror content back on my channel, which I try to make a horror channel, but there's just not enough games out there I'm interested in horror-wise. So it'll be nice to have a horror game back on the channel that I can focus on for a while. All right.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the game, seeing you play it, and obviously owning it soon.
All right, let's get into. We have just a little bit of geek and comic news, so let's go ahead. Let's get into that. All right, so back on to the Oscars, but something very unexpected happened this year. So normally every year, you know, we get a couple Marvel movies, and usually one of them gets one Oscar nod, you know, maybe for special effects or costumes or sound editing or something. Well, this year, Marvel has become the powerhouse of the Oscars. Okay. Starting with Black Panther. Got 7 nods. 7. Best production design. Best costume design. Best original song. Best original score. Best sound editing. And best sound mixing. Wait, is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? You forgot Best Picture.
Oops.
you forgot like the biggest one. I'm like, wait a second, that was 6, and they're missing the biggest one. Yeah, and Best Picture. Black Panther is in the running to win an Oscar for Best Picture.
Wow.
Let that sink in.
Yeah. I never thought I'd see a Black Panther movie on the big screen. I never thought I would exist where they are nominated for 7 Oscars. That is incredible.
The only thing that makes me a little sad is knowing that Stanley is not alive right now to see his baby, you know, in Marvel be such a powerhouse at the Oscars for the first year. You know, a Marvel movie, a superhero movie at that. Let's just strip away the moniker here. Just a superhero movie. 7 nods, including Best Picture. Unbelievable.
When they come in, they usually get like best visual effects or best sound design. And I don't want to take away anything from those categories, but obviously people tune in for the big dogs. You know, they want the best actress, the best screenplay, best picture. They want that significantly. So it always kind of feels like they just gave us like when a Marvel movie gets nominated, it always feels like it's like a pity nomination. They're like, oh, just give them the mixing, you know, that's good enough. Black Panther came to play this year, and I really hope they hit it out of the park. I mean, they already won as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
but I really would love to see them win a couple of these, and it's not even because I'm such a big comic book fan, but the fact that it's a powerful movie, and it's beyond deserving, you know, in all aspects of the creation of that movie. It is just such a well-rounded, perfect piece of cinema. I mean, that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, everyone on the Black Panther team should be proud of what they've done and what they've accomplished with just 7 nods. I mean, whew, it's quite impressive. Now, you would think we'd be done, but we're not. I was very upset because at first I did not see anything for Infinity War, but it eventually came up, and surprise, surprise, Infinity War gets 1 nod for Best Visual Effects. There is no surprise there.
I thought it would do more than that.
So did I. I thought there would be at least 1 or 2 other ones, but, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It wasn't. Black Panther had just way more impact as a movie for obvious reasons, you know, as a movie and just cinema in general, than, you know, Infinity War was a cinematic event of a lifetime, but in a way, so was Black Panther. So, and in a more impactful way. So I get that.
A bigger achievement. I think Black Panther was a bigger achievement.
Uh-huh.
Infinity War accomplished more of an achievement in terms of it being an event film, as well as, you know, I'll go on a limb and say storytelling. That was, for a 2-part movie, that was a beautiful story. You know, from front to end. You didn't really need the supplemental stuff going before it. You could walk into Infinity War and really appreciate it. It was a very well crafted film, but I think Black Panther, you know, achieved a little bit more than what Infinity War did.
Yeah, I've actually watched Infinity War like 2 or 3 more times since it came on Netflix, and man, the feels, man, they're still there.
I just added it to my queue tonight, so it's going to be watched soon.
And then, last but not least, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse scores 1 nod for Best Animated Feature Film, which is great. And if it wins, it will share that honor with another Marvel animated film that won that category in Big Hero 6. Which was great. I love the fact that Big Hero 6 got a nod when that movie came out. I loved that movie. It's I love the characters and the just it was a really fun movie, and some feels in that movie too, man. You know, there's actually a show. I don't know if the show ever came out, but they were working on a show for the longest time, and then I just never heard anything about it again. I gotta look that up.
Yeah, now I'm curious myself. As far as Into the Spider-Verse, I think this takes it. You know, I don't think Black Panther is going to take Best Picture this year, but I think if a Marvel walks out of here with a big honor, it's going to be the Into the Spider-Verse taking Best Animated Feature. It is a well-made movie. You know, it experiments with all sorts of different types of animation. It takes full advantage of the kind of like sandbox that they were playing in, and for me, walking out of that movie was probably most. I was most moved by the story itself and what sort of lessons it was teaching kids and adults too. Like it's not just a movie where kids are going to learn good things. You could probably come out of that movie being a better person in general for watching what took place on the screen. So, and above all, it's a fun movie. So I really think that has a good chance this year.
Yeah, no, I think Black Panther has a really good shot of best costume design, best production design, maybe one other one. I really think it's got good chances of taking home those. Avengers, best visual effects. I didn't see what the others in that category were.
I don't have it up right now, but I don't recall.
But I guess it's possible. I'm actually looking up right now because I'm just kind of curious. Visual effects. Christopher Robin, First Man, Solo, and Ready Player One. So,
I would say Christopher Robin.
I'm thinking that too, and so obviously I'd love to see Avengers win. If Avenger loses but Christopher Robin wins, I am not going to be mad because the effects that they did for those characters, Pooh and all those other characters, Tigger and Eeyore and whatever the little one is, Piglet or whatever, it looks unbelievable. I mean, it's not my thing. I was never really a big fan of that stuff, but the characters. But there is no denying that the effects and the time and effort that they put into that film is breathtaking.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I've seen the trailer for it. I mean, we all we didn't grow up with Pooh, but we were, we all had a stuffed animal of him at some point as a child, very small child. But just seeing the trailer, it immediately takes you back to simpler times. So I completely agree.
So yeah, it's like, yes, I'm rooting for Avengers. I'd love them to win. It'd be awesome for an Avengers movie to finally win an Oscar. If they lose to Christopher Robin, there will be no salt on my end, because in my opinion, I think it really deserves it. Like, just watching the trailers, I didn't see the movie, just the trailers. That's all I need to see, just to be like, all right, just give him the fucking Oscar for that. Like, why is this even a competition?
I hear you.
And then Spider-Man should take it. I'm looking right now to see what others.
I know The Incredibles 2 was in it, and at first I was gonna say, wow, it's gonna be tough with Incredibles 2 in it. But personally, I feel like the message is the bigger reason that movie would win. And I don't know if The Incredibles 2 really had that same sort of, a big step forward, as far as I know.
Yeah, there's Incredibles 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet, Isle of Dogs, and Mirai, which looks like a Japanese animation film, which I'm not actually familiar with. And it is a Studio Ghibli film, which I love Studio Ghibli, but I guess I wasn't really familiar with it because it's not a Miyazaki film. But yeah, no, hopefully Spider-Man can take it. That would be great. It's funny. I'm just scrolling through this, and I'm looking at all the categories, and like every category is Black Panther, Black Panther, Black Panther. It's all I'm fucking seeing here. Black Panther. It's really funny and surprising. Like,
it was great. I was actually at work when all that news was dropping, and I got home from work and I was able to sit down and just scroll through Twitter, and how elated people were over the 7 nominations. It was weird. It felt like Christmas.
Looking at what's up for Best Picture, I'm pretty sure A Star Is Born is probably going to take that one.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. I mean, if Bohemian Rhapsody takes it, that's just
No,
disgusting.
I don't think so. I could totally see Rami Malek taking best actor.
Yes, definitely. But what's really cool is, Willem Dafoe is up for best actor. I would love to see him win. Are you kidding me? I haven't seen the movie At Eternity's Gate, but I'm just like such a massive Willem Dafoe fan because he is just creepy personified. I love it. You know what? I want a movie where they lock Willem Dafoe and Gary Busey in a room together for like 90 minutes. No script. I just want to see what happens.
I don't want that. It's terrifying.
But
don't give me nightmares tonight.
That's what I want. But yeah, no, I definitely can see A Star Is Born taking Best Picture, but we don't need to turn this into an Oscar discussion here.
I think that's too late between your rant and our last 15, 20 minutes of Oscar discussion.
Man,
that was the main topic.
My rant was fucking warranted, man. I'm sick of that shit. Sick of seeing that shit on my timeline. There's no horror at the Oscars.
I will say this: horror's had its day the last couple years. Now it's the geeks' turn. Let the comic book fans have their.
Yes, it's our time. Well, I guess either one would be our time, but
true, we got the best of both worlds.
But no, really, there's never going to be an our time for horror at the Oscars.
Close enough.
All right, guys, that is going to wrap it up for us this week. Thank you for everyone that came out tonight. Much appreciated. If you like what you heard, maybe this is your first time here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the little bell so you know when we go live. We do this every Wednesday night. Well, most Wednesday nights. Sometimes we just need to take a break. Or sometimes there's just not enough news in the week, and it's just like, fuck it. We'll skip a week. So
we don't know if we have enough time.
Don't know if there's going to be enough time. Don't know.
I'm glad you picked that up.
But yeah, we do this most Wednesday nights, 8 p.m.-ish Eastern time. So make sure you hit that subscribe, smash that like button, hit that bell, do all that thing. Click all the shit down there, all right? Just click it all.
Except the thumbs down. Stay away from that one. That one's bad. That is fire.
Yeah. I see any thumbs down, I'm sending the hair man. I'm sending Twisted Tea after you guys, and you don't want that.
I wish I knew which episode his voicemail was on. Episode 4?
No. Yeah, the lost episode.
Yes, number 4. Go back and listen, and you'll find out who Twisted Tea is.
Yeah, you don't want that peering through your window at night. Trust me. Make sure you follow us over on Twitter at Dead End Site, and make sure you check out deadentertainment.com. All your horror needs, and anything that's sort of horror-esque. As I said, I'm doing episodic reviews right now of Punisher Season 2, so check those out. Make sure you like us on Facebook, facebook.com/deadentertainment, and make sure you come over and check out my channel. You can just click my name in the chat and check that out. I stream a couple times a week. Do music streams on Friday night when they don't get terminated by YouTube, which was really weird last week. That's never happened before. I played one Anthrax song, and that was it. That was it.
Don't we have a small clip of Anthrax in NBH somewhere?
I don't know.
Not important, but I could have sworn we did. But wow, Anthrax put the hammer down on you. You know what? Forget Anthrax. Don't play their songs anymore. Play Overkill instead. Yeah,
no, I don't even know if it was Anthrax in general or the fact, because I was streaming for hours, and then all of a sudden, now when I do those music streams, it usually gets blocked worldwide after the fact. Like those streams, you can't rewatch those streams just because I'm playing all copyrighted music. But I've never actually had YouTube kill a stream because I was playing music. That was really weird.
Yeah, they had enough of your shit. They were like, this guy does this every week. We're done.
Yeah, no, it was very, very strange. But And I got an email saying that they took me down for policy violation, and I'm like, oh, fuck you. I do this every week. Come on, you cunts. But there was no strikes or no nothing against the channel. They were just like, yeah, no, we're taking your ass down for right now. And then I think I waited 2 minutes and just kicked the stream back on again. I was like, okay, what was the fucking point of that?
Lesson learned, obviously.
So I'll abstain from playing any Anthrax moving forward, just in case that's what it was. But thank you guys again, and we will let you know if we're doing the live commentary now that I've reminded Mungus that Resident Evil 2 drops on Friday, so I may not...
He so eloquently hinted at... So it might be a week from now. We shall see. Possibly a week.
Yeah, or it could be we've been talking about doing a Saturday afternoon live commentary for a while.
Possible. I think we're busy on Sunday, so yeah, maybe I'm off and we'll
discuss it. We got some time. Yeah, I thought you were gonna say something. Way to leave me hanging.
Nope. Sorry.
So thank you guys again, and we will keep you updated to let you know what's going on with the live commentary. Make sure you check out my channel on Friday for Resident Evil 2, and make sure you enter my giveaway that's going on right now. If you're subscribed to my channel, there are links everywhere. There's links on my Twitter, so check that out. You don't want to miss that giveaway. And yeah, you got anything else?
One day I'm going to be like, hey, I'm a new streamer now, and I do all sorts of cool shit for you to check out. But right now, I'm just going to go watch some TV. So, yeah, have a good one.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. We will see you again next week. And remember...
What do you think this is all about? You think this is a fucking costume? This is a way of life.
Bye.